Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Looking at some of the latest financial research, a really fascinating question comes up. Why is it that some people just seem to effortlessly build wealth year after year, while others work incredibly hard, put in exhausting hours, and still struggle? Well, imagine for a second you're locked in an escape room. You're trying all the obvious combinations, you're pulling all the levers you're told to pull, but the door literally just won't budge. Honestly, that's exactly what your finances look like right now if you're unknowingly caught in the invisible traps we're about to uncover. Millions of people are totally locked out of lasting wealth, just completely unaware of these common financial mistakes acting as hidden barriers. So today, we aren't just trying to find the keys, we're going to break the locks.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this is the shocking reality that trips up so many incredibly hardworking people. There's this massive misconception out there that simply putting your head down and grinding away is your guaranteed ticket to financial freedom. But just look around. You probably know someone who works harder than anyone else you've ever met, yet they can barely scrape together enough to get by. Why is that? What's actually keeping them trapped in this cycle? It's a question that brings up a lot of frustration. But as the data reveals, the answer really isn't what society has trained us to believe. Stick with me here, because in just a second, we're going to reveal the very first invisible barrier.
So a lot of folks fall into the trap of thinking wealth is this exclusive club, reserved only for the lucky, the highly educated, or people born into privilege. But financial research and real-world data tell a totally different story. The truth? It's not always education, it's not always income, and it is definitely not luck alone. Actually, wealth is usually built through consistent behaviors, repeated over a long period of time. But here's the fascinating catch, and the reason so many stay broke. People are unknowingly following behaviors that are actively working against them. They're doing exactly what they think they are supposed to do, but it's just pushing them further and further away from their goals. All right, let's expose the very first wealth killer highlighted in the research. Trap 1, lifestyle inflation. This trap is incredibly deceptive because honestly, it actually feels like success at first. It's a snare that snaps shut the exact moment you get a raise or land a better paying job. And this brilliantly illustrates the problem. On one side, you get the promotion. Your income goes up. Amazing, right? But on the other side, your expenses rise right alongside it. Instead of saving or investing that new money, spending goes up too. The research points out a phenomenon that completely reminded me of my own life. I got my first really big raise, and I was so pumped that I immediately bought a brand new car, started taking way more expensive vacations, and upgraded literally all my subscriptions. Before I even realized it, I felt completely trapped because my new, higher expenses perfectly matched my new, higher income. You earn more, sure, but you never actually get ahead.
So that begs the question, but what if you earn a really high income? Surely making six figures or more guarantees you an escape from these traps, right? Well, think again. Making a ton of money absolutely does not make you immune to the next barrier we're going to look at. In fact, sometimes earning more just allows people to dig an even deeper hole. Let's see why. Welcome to Trap 2, living paycheck to paycheck.
Now, what's really interesting about this is zero. It sounds crazy, but the data shows high-income earners fall right into this trap by spending nearly every single dollar they make. That massive zero right there, that is the exact amount of surplus money that trapped high-income earners have at the end of the month. When you operate like this, you're essentially walking on a tightrope without a net. Without an emergency fund or a solid savings cushion, even a minor unexpected expense, like, say, a blown tire or a surprise medical bill, quickly escalates into a full-blown financial crisis. It literally doesn't matter if millions of dollars pass through your bank account over a lifetime. If the amount left over is zero, your wealth-building capacity is zero.
The materials we're looking at highlight a completely fundamental rule for escaping this room. Wealth requires surplus money. It's that simple. You can't invest, you can't save, and you definitely can't build a future without a surplus. And surplus money doesn't just magically happen by accident, right? It requires intentional planning. You have to purposefully engineer that gap between what you earn and what you spend.
Now, imagine you're doing everything right. You're trying your best to create a surplus. But what if there's a leak? What if something is silently draining your future income before you even get out of bed in the morning? This is absolutely critical to understand because this next trap is one of the most aggressively marketed barriers in the modern world.
Here it is, Trap 3, the consumer debt drain.
So while some debt can be useful, like a mortgage on a property that's actually appreciating, the data shows consumer debt is just an incredibly common, almost insurmountable obstacle. Credit cards, high-interest loans, buy now, pay later services. People severely underestimate the true cost of interest over time. It quietly leaches your future earnings away.
These products are brilliantly designed to look like convenience, but they keep you locked in a vicious cycle. By putting today's lifestyle on tomorrow's tab, you're essentially promising your future labor to a bank, which makes it mathematically almost impossible to build lasting wealth while carrying that weight.
But hold on a second. What if you're a saver? What if you avoid credit cards entirely and have absolutely zero consumer debt? You might think you're totally safe. But there is another invisible trap, and this one is tied directly to the clock. It's silently ticking away in the background right now, and if you aren't aware of it, you are missing out on the single biggest wealth-building lever of all.
And that brings us to trap 4, the cost of waiting.
So the crucial point is this universal truth highlighted by the research. Time is your most powerful wealth-building tool. Time is what allows your money to make money. The trap here? Hesitation. Just look at the massive difference between investing early versus waiting. When you give your money time to compound, the growth becomes exponential. But when you hesitate, you completely miss out on those crucial compounding cycles. Years later, people who delayed look back and realize the true cost of waiting was drastically higher than they ever expected. It is not just about the money you didn't put in. It's about the massive compounding growth you completely missed out on.
So why do people wait? Well, the data usually boils it down to these 3 things: thinking you need more money to start, fearing risk, or simply not understanding how investing actually works. A lot of people think it's just a game for Wall Street experts, so they leave their cash sitting idle, losing its value to inflation, and completely missing the window where time could have done all the heavy lifting for them.
Which naturally leads to a very, very frustrating question. If these traps are so common, and the cost of them is so incredibly high, why on earth didn't we learn how to avoid them in school? We learned calculus, we learned history, but we were handed our diplomas and sent out into the world without the most basic survival skills for our financial lives.
And that, my friends, is trap 5, the financial education gap.
This gap is the root cause of all the other traps. Without foundational financial knowledge, well-meaning, incredibly hardworking people are just doomed to repeat expensive mistakes. We learned math, sure, but look at what's missing from the curriculum: budgeting, investing, compound growth, debt management, risk management. Without this map, millions just step into the real world completely blind to how money actually works. They have to learn by trial and error, and let me tell you, in the financial world, errors cost years of your life.
Okay, so what's the solution? Let's move to and see how this builds into the escape, habits of the wealthy.
Now that the sources have helped us identify the invisible barriers keeping you locked in, it's time to talk about the keys. While everyone's situation is unique, financially successful people consistently share a specific set of habits, and it starts right here. Step 1, live below your means. Remember that surplus we talked about? This is exactly how you create it. Defeat lifestyle inflation. Step 2, invest consistently. Don't wait. Put time on your side and let compound growth do its job. Step 3, avoid unnecessary debt. Cut out the consumer debt drain so your future income belongs strictly to you.
Then you really accelerate the escape. Step 4, build assets. Focus your surplus money on buying things that actually put money back into your pocket. And finally, Step 5, think long-term. Look, wealth is a marathon, it's not a sprint. By keeping your eyes on the horizon, you avoid the panic of short-term setbacks and keep your strategy solidly on track.
The most empowering takeaway from all of this research is that people don't fail to build wealth because they're lazy. If you have been struggling, it is not because you aren't working hard enough. You likely just fell into these incredibly common, untaught financial traps: lifestyle inflation, debt, poor planning, and a lack of education. But the fantastic news here? Small improvements made consistently have a massive impact. These habits can absolutely be changed today. You have the keys now.
So if the locks on your financial escape room were installed by a lack of education, what happens the moment you decide to become the architect of your own wealth? I want to know, what is the biggest financial lesson you've learned? Let me know in the comments below right now. And hey, if you found this explainer valuable, make sure you hit that subscribe button for NexClaim. We're bringing you powerful, actionable content on personal finance, taxes, insurance, consumer protection, and the exact wealth-building strategies you need to thrive. If this explainer helped you spot a trap in your own life, drop a like and share it with someone who also wants to radically improve their financial future. Let's break those barriers together.